Welcome to Behind Every Employer, where leaders in business and education from across the country share solutions for sourcing, training, and growing frontline talent to create the workforce of tomorrow. This broadcast is brought to you by the Coalition on Adult Basic Education. To learn more, check us out at www.coabe.org or any of your favorite podcast sites. Now, here are your hosts, Anson Green and Jeffrey Abramowitz.
I'm Priyanka Sharma. I'm the Vice President at World Education, global education nonprofit, and I'm really happy to be here and be part of this conversation.
And she's been running around. I've been trying to catch her for 2 days, and I'm just careening around the corner over here and said, let's get on a podcast together.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. It's great stuff. So there's so many questions that we have to talk. We have about 20 minutes or so to really dig in, but why don't you tell the audience a little bit about the work that you do?
Sure. So in the US, the work that we do is capacity strengthening, advancing the opportunities that adults have to really live better lives, all of us, in terms of adult learners, adult educators, advancing the capacity of adult education system to be more effective. And the part we play in that ecosystem as an organization is develop cutting edge, bleeding edge innovations around making sure that the teachers have all the best resources that at hand, and we're sort of trying to be ahead of the curve, so they're really thinking about what lies ahead in terms of the latest advances in technology and how to integrate that into education.
Awesome.
Fantastic. I wanted to talk more about digital, just the digital sessions that have been going on. You guys have done multiple ones at the conference. What this year, what seems to be really hot, really cutting edge? AI seems to be like on every other session that I'm looking at, generative AI. Tell us, like, from your perspective, since you've got this real comprehensive look at this, like, what is changing in the last year that adult educators, employers, others need to be thinking about?
So I think you hit that right on the nail. Like, AI is on everybody's mind, all the way from learners to educators to systems. And in terms of AI, I feel like we're in a very special place because what has shifted from past year to this year is last year we were all freaking out about it.
Yeah.
And this year we are learning. It's only been a year.
Fuzz.
And now we're at a time where like really trying to find ways of demystifying it, of thinking about how we can work together like with it and make it work for us.
Which is really interesting. Anson and I had an episode not long ago where a manufacturer was actually explaining how they're using AI on the manufacturing floor to help translate foreign languages into English for supervisors and back and forth, so that employees and employers could really work in the English language, that whole sector, and figuring it out. I'm curious, like, from the AI perspective, like, what should we be thinking about today? Where should our eyes be? Where's the ball for us?
One of the things that I think we have been talking about, especially at COABE, with a lot of folks just, around teachers, administrators, state folks, state leaders, is how is it that AI is new, but also not new at the same time? Like, there are components of AI that are new that we'd really have to think more intentionally about. But I feel like there's a way of looking at AI or any technology as to what aspect of it is actually valuable, that actually expands learning, accelerates learning. And as educators, like, to me, as somebody who loves technology, I have to stop myself at some point to think about really using technology, however cool they are, only as a tool, and not let technology drive us, but us driving the technology and how we're thinking about it.
One thing too, I was in a session earlier, and the presenter did kind of a survey using pictures. And so you had the excited person, you had the frustrated person, the questioning person, and did a survey to see, like, how are you feeling about generative AI for you as an instructor? I would only say about a quarter of the floor was like the exciting guy. And so this is telling me there's capacity building and support. There was a lot on the frustration side and a lot on the questioning side. So, and I can't remember what the other one was, the other fourth quadrant, but that was telling me like, okay, Anson, it's not as exciting, as you feel like it is. For other people, there's a lot of questions, a lot of capacity, some frustrations. So I think that's where you guys come in and play a big role. You've been leading this. I mean, I remember a conference about a year ago where it was just like completely unknown to people because it was very new. We were all rah rah, but these things take time to kind of saturate. And could you share a little bit about like, as for instructors, like what are the practical applications of AI that you're hearing and seeing and talking about?
So one of the things that I want to get back to what you said before is a lot of people are puzzled about it while being mesmerized with it at the same time. And this
Her
is like
words are better than mine. I was like making all these grimaces.
the funny thing is that I was literally having this conversation on the way here where somebody gave me this data point, so I'm hoping it's correct, is that 82% of adults in the US have actually never interacted with ChatGPT, which to me is humbling because I think we're assuming that people have tried it and just don't understand how it fits. So one of our main jobs has been to really think about how we can engage teachers to really interact with it and find ways of using it. So one of the examples that I always quote is we had this thing called Camp GPT over the summer where we worked with a cohort of teachers, hundreds of teachers, and have these virtual sessions of these online sandboxes where they were actually using ChatGPT in ways in which they can learn to work with it, like using prompt engineering principles, but not sort of saying that that's exactly what they're doing. And we do have a product which is free on our website. It's a prompt book for teachers to interact with ChatGPT and kind of see how they can use it to amplify the way they teach in class, talk to learners about it, but then also really use it to think about new ways of doing curriculum development around it.
So the prompts are, I mean, that's the term used for like, how am I going to tell ChatGPT to give me what I want? So crafting the prompt, I would imagine, is probably really important in terms of what you're going to get, correct?
Right. So that's kind of where the human component of AI comes in as well, because ChatGPT is only as good as the questions you ask. And that's kind of where I think it can be, and we're seeing examples of that across adult ed more so than a lot of times other systems where we're just ready to explore because we don't like training wheels, like we're just going to go for it, is having learners and teachers use it in ways in which you're helping them think about what it would mean to interact with a computer that's generating language that you then have to parse and use your critical thinking skills and a lot of other skills to put it to use.
Isn't that any new technology that comes out? It takes a while for it to for us to really understand its capacity and for us to accept that this could really be an amazing tool, right, in the work that we do, especially for teachers. And I think of as simple things as a cell phone, and how students today can learn off of a cell phone. And this is just another step up, another step ahead. But the learning component, I think, is an important piece. I'm glad you have that toolkit because I'm going to check it out when we get done and we'll post it on our website. But I'm curious, besides the toolkit, where should people be looking to learn more about AI? Where are the good educational sources that we can learn and kind of explore with it?
Sure. So one of the things that I feel is, in addition to the prompt book that we have on our website, we also have more sort of, we call them EdTech Bites with a BYTES. We're trying to be cute. And
It's
thinking
cute, I think. You're trying, you can
with the demystifying of AI. So we have a series of, I think 4 or 5 webinars, which are on the website, which really are like 30-minute quick sessions of how is it that, what is generative AI? Because at this point, if somebody asks you generative AI or what do you think about it, you have to make up an answer if you don't know it. Because again, we're getting to the stage of AI literacy where we are at digital literacy, where even if you don't have complex skills, you have to kind of fake it. So we try to demystify it by these, webinars that are on our website. I think LinkedIn also has some courses around AI. We're partnering with another nonprofit called Day of AI. they have a lot of courses, especially from a K-12 perspective. So we're, thinking about how we can do something that's similar, but for our audience. But the K-12 courses are great for somebody to understand the basics. And the other last point I want to make is something you said before around using it in new ways is, AI has been around. Like, we're all very familiar with Netflix recommendation engine. A lot of it is machine learning. It was very clunky. I'm going to show my age here, but like years and years ago, like 15 years ago, the recommendation was very clunky because their machine learning was not up to par. Now, that's one of the numerous systems that uses AI on the back end to really, match your profile to your potential liking, to drug interactions, all the way to the way we experience the world around us at the back end.
Yeah, one of the presenters I saw it was a good bridging, back to the group of individuals that are not engaged yet, kind of saying, well, we know spell check, we know Siri, we know, and somebody said WhatsApp, and so I think making those connections instead of it just being this alien creature that is new and I don't know what it is, but we've been using these, algorithms and stuff and technology for a long time. So I thought that was a really good way for instructors to think about like how to broach this with learners and with others to kind of say like, because using it with learners is another whole area we haven't talked about, but there's so much potential there too. So I'm really excited about the advancement that we're seeing in our presenters at the event. And what you guys have been doing has just been fantastic to kind of be a bulwark of like, information, personalities, Rachel coming in, being all over the place on these events, your summer camp. Love that. So great work on that. I'm so, so glad that we have World Ed, you guys, the talent that's there, putting this stuff out.
So I would be remiss if we didn't dive in just a few minutes to talk about the Digital Equity Act. And I was wondering if you could share some thoughts of where you think we sit today. We have very active in our state and across the country in it. And I know there's a lot of RFPs going to be coming out. There's a lot of people really curious what's going to happen next. And from your perspective of where you are, what should be on our radar screen right now?
So there's two parts to it. So one, I think Digital Equity Act is one of the multiple sources of funding that is coming our way. From a digital equity, digital literacy perspective, there's two main ones that really impact the way we should be thinking about in our work together and new models and approaches in the next 6 months. The first one is the money that is going to be allocated soon to all 50 states that have submitted their plans. If you are in a state, I think on our website, and we can probably make it, I can share the link with you. We're trying to track all the state plans in one place as they become available, so that, for Texas, you can sort of click and kind of look at your equity plan. And we have a report coming out where we're trying to use a rubric to understand where adult ed stands in each one of the plans. And states have to modify their plans as the work continues for the next 4 years. So it's not, if your adult education is not represented there, there's still time to advocate for the addition of the digital literacy classes. But then also the way the Digital Equity Act money is coming through to the states is that you should be serving the covered populations. And we're serving most of those. And so there's ways in which we can think about, once states get that money, they're all going to try to, have either grants out that adult education programs, consortiums can apply for. Not all states are going to do that, but I think we hope to keep track of it and, share with the field as that comes along. The other piece is these competitive grants that hopefully are going to come out in September, fall. Like it's like a little 8-ball. Everybody is like, well, they sneezed when they said that, so maybe it's coming out in August. So we'll see. But having said that I think is more something that will require all of us to come together to think about a competitive grant, because it's a large sum of money. It also needs to be something that's systems changing, systems building kind of work. So I really look forward to us coming together as a field from a local, regional, state perspective and cross-state perspective to really highlight the work that we have been doing for years around building digital skills
I
that we
love it.
don't enough we don't get enough credit for that, but I think we should.
Absolutely.
True. Yeah, there's so much to talk about in the Digital Equity Act, and I think right now we're at a stage where everybody's wondering what to do, and what steps they should be taking now. And I do a lot of work in the justice space, and I'm encouraging people to start thinking about piloting programs and getting things off the ground that really can guide them as they begin to file for RFPs. Do you have any advice for adult educators or programs across the country that may be thinking about what should we be doing today to kind of prepare for the next 3 months as we launch into this?
So one of the things that I feel that we need to do is think about our work as being a critical part of like a systems change ecosystem in our local contexts, and then sort of build up from there. And um, it's also a time to really dust off and activate any partnerships that amplify the work and expand the access. Because one of the things that I really hope comes out of this Digital Equity Act money and other money that's being put into the infrastructure bill and other similar like CHIPS Act and other pieces is how we need to elevate our own position in our local training ecosystem and actually get new students to engage with our system, because I feel like that's how we're going to
Yes.
take a huge bite of not just digital divide, but the skills divide and everything else that we care about deeply.
Well, tech has always been a good way to reach, folks, to reach them, but it's also something they're enthusiastic and thrilled about. So, being able to come in and I've dropped out of school, or I'm going to come back, but knowing that they get this other, kind of palette of just all kinds of tech learning, including ChatGPT. I've heard several instructors talking about how they're using it with their students, including one in corrections, which I was really excited about. Yeah, so it's like that's something where it's kind of another hook to bring in populations that are playing games all day and interested in this stuff and using it, but maybe want to build a career in it and figure out what it is. But this is a good no cost way to kind of get involved with adult education.
And this relates to correctional education, but it's also something where I see a future potential where the power of generative AI is such that you can have a large language model system running on a laptop that is not connected to the internet. So and we're seeing that a lot of interest in that in our international projects in countries in Africa where we work in very low, no tech contexts, is how is it that you can use the LLM approaches, these large language model approaches, to really think about learning in new and different ways in an internet sort of, constrained places. I haven't seen a lot of innovation yet, apart from like just so small use cases of using large, bodies of text. But that's something that I'm really excited about the potential and seeing in which we can think about bringing or bringing digital skills, that comfort, that fluency, the building that digital resilience in places where internet doesn't have to be everything.
So, which is you and I have to go to dinner one night because it's such an important thing, especially in the world that we live in, not just corrections, but just marginalized populations across the country, and giving them the ability to access it. We're going to be losing some funding for a lot of those access programs, those access points for people that have during COVID benefited from some of that internet access, which is now being pulled away, and which I totally don't understand. But the truth is that there's a lot of those questions need to be asked, and we need to think about how we can do a better job supporting a lot of our adult learners and a lot of our citizens in our country that really don't have access and that are going to lose access going forward.
Right. And I feel like it's also, as we're talking about so much new money coming down the pike, there's also things that are being taken away that were just such beautiful scaffolds during the time of the pandemic, but they're beautiful scaffolds regardless, not just during a time of, like a national public health emergency. And, I feel like devices are another one of those where it's like, okay, we put in a lot of devices out there, a lot of them are being brought back, but we don't really understand I haven't found a lot of like models and approaches or learnings from it. Like to me, every intervention needs to, even if you're ending it, we should have lots of lessons that can really
That's a massive
catalyze
one.
and
Yeah.
springboard how we think about the work ahead. So that's definitely there, like ACP, the Affordable Connectivity
That's what I was talking
Program. Like that's a part of it. But I also feel like that might also shine a light on just how much it's not just about broadband or internet availability. It is all about reliable and especially affordable availability. And I'm really hopeful that something will pass in the next coming weeks because it has supposedly support from both sides of the aisle, but fingers crossed. But even if that doesn't happen, we're just going to keep on working and figure out new ways in which we can think about new models that really make a difference in the way people experience technology.
Awesome.
So,
So,
Jeff,
yeah, go ahead.
we're
Yeah, we are.
and I was out to eat, and, talking to a local person. He saw my hat, San Antonio, and he said, "Hey, we wear those too." So, Priyanka, you're in Nashville.
There you go. There you go.
Not in Okay, yeah.
That's right.
Channel.
That's right. Priyanka, thank you so much for being with us. Just one last question for you. Anson and I, we have we carry this magic wand with us sometimes when we have guests on, and we're going to give you the magic wand today because I think we're here at COABE and we want to hear from you. If you could use the magic wand and change anything in the world that we live in today when it comes to adult education and the work that you do, what are you going to use it on?
So a magical way in which adult learners have access to and have the skills to really interact with technology, have the right devices for it too, inside the classroom and back at home, because at home is where most of the learning happens. So that we're really giving them all the agency that they need to be active learners, and we can learn along with them.
Great. Thank you so
Thank
much for
you.
being
Thanks
guest and
for having
stopping
me. This was
by. You got it. You've been listening to Behind Every Employer with Anson Green and Jeffrey Abramowitz. If you like the show, please follow us and tell your friends and colleagues. This broadcast has been brought to you by the Coalition on Adult Basic Education. You can find us at www.coabe.org. You can listen to us on Spotify, YouTube, or on your favorite podcast site. If you'd like to be a guest on Behind Every Employer, please contact us at behindeveryemployer@coabe.org.